The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bounding freedom, peace and unity.
This is the fourth run we're having. We've had it in Mina, in Calabar. I'd like to recognize certain personalities in our midst and to invite them to the high table. We have in our midst this morning the very distinguished presence of the representative of the Controller General of Corrections, Mr. Nababa. We have the very distinguished privilege to have in our midst the Executive Director, Prisoners Rehabilitation and Welfare Action Program, Dr. Uju Agomo. Let me also invite to the high table the Chief Superintendent of Corrections, Iwuagwu, also of the Training Directorate.
Very distinguished Controller General of Prisons, very represented by our brother, friend, distinguished as well, Assistant Controller General, who is in charge of the Directorate of Training and Staff Development, which is a very big one. So we are very pleased and delighted to have your presence here. I want to also acknowledge the presence of my sister, mentor, and friend. She remains a big motivation for us as we continue to press God with you and government. Good to have you. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to also let us know why you are here. So I expect that in spite of our smallness, we should be able to take advantage of that and do something peculiar today for the good of mankind, not just of the inmates and the Nigerian Correctional Service. Now let me, you already have it in your programs, but let me rehearse or recap the saying of Nathan Mandel. It says the effectiveness of correctional programs for the prevention of recidivism lies at the core of the entire contemporary philosophy underlying penal institutional treatment. It needs no interpretation. A good hospital is one where sick persons go in and come out healthy. For us, recidivism is a global indicator that something that took someone into the correctional or custodial center or the prisons may not have been completely gotten rid of. So that encapsulates why we're here, why this. And that is that through our programs, to be able to get rid of the prison shuttle, where people come and go, the revolving door.
We have quite a number of activities that we spelled out. We have what we call the counseling. Now the counseling is at the point we know the need of the inmates, we begin to counsel them spiritually or based on morality, and the reason why they need to embrace the program. Now, as we also have literacy and numeracy competition, it's very important
told my Oga that I would give him the courtesy of having some conversation with him. I remember when we first had the session in Mina, some of the officers asked, this study that they are presenting to us as having been conducted in Colombia, South Africa, why was it not done here? And we said, well, we made that attempt, but it didn't work. But I do hope this time, sir, when I speak responsibly, there is a chance that that study will now be conducted in Nigeria. And I do hope that this time, that we are in partnership, the Nigerian Correctional Service will be able to give its go-ahead. Then we will all be participants to see actually how this thing actually works. We also have with us Professor Bello is going to join as the moderator of that team's presentation. Of course, we also have participants who will be joining us virtually tomorrow, that is from South Africa, and of course from Zambia. So we have a rich bouquet of programs and activities lined up for us. And our plea is, please do not be distracted. Do not be too conscious of the limitations, whether in terms of provisions or whatever. Rather focus so that your participation will further draw out the rich benefits of why we are gathered here. So we are gathered here in summing up to together fashion an effective way through which we can touch the lives of inmates such that when they have gone through the correctional system, they don't begin to return to crime. So on that note, I want to say on behalf of the Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Prison Fellowship Nigeria, Mrs. Dorcas Dane, who hopefully might be able to join us virtually, I want to welcome us to this 2 days workshop. Thank you and God bless you for listening.
We have quite a number of activities that we spelled out. We have what we call the counseling. Now the counseling is at the point we know the need of the inmates. We begin to counsel them spiritually or based on morality and the reason why they need to embrace the program. Now as we also have literacy and numeracy competition. It's very important. We notice that when there is a competition, health competition within individual, that helps us to, it pushes our drive to carry out activities.
The presence of the Executive Director, Prison Fellowship of Nigeria. I must also recognize the presence of Executive Director, Prawa, in person of Dr. Uju. I must also recognize the presence of the organizers of this noble workshop. Other invited guests. My respected colleagues that are here, members of the press, you are all welcome. My name is ACG Lawal Audubso, in charge training and staff development at the Service National Headquarters. As earlier been introduced, I'm here this morning to represent the CGC. He had wanted to be here, but unfortunately for him, he couldn't make it because of other national assignment. So whatever you hear from my mouth are not my words, but they are the words of the Controller General. I would like to read his address to the hearing of everybody else. I'm delighted to witness another phase of PFN, continuous capacity building training of the Correctional Service personnel at Zone A, Lagos Chapter. The service recognizes your kind gesture. Human capacity development is a tool in which every organization cannot progress if her personnel are not adequately trained to carry out the mandate of its organization. Let me formally welcome Zone A nominated Correctional Service Welfare Officers and Executive of PFN. You are all welcome.
That discuss that concerns you. Now, if you happen to be named as one who will be a beneficiary of a particular thing that you did not participate in the decision making, there must be something about you. I say, okay, even if you do not understand what I'm about to say.
We have quite a number of activities that we spelled out. We have what we call the counseling. Now the counseling is at the point we know the need of the inmates. We begin to counsel them spiritually or based on morality. And the reason why they need to embrace the program. Now as we also have literacy and numeracy competition. It's very important. We noticed that when there is a competition, health competition within individual, that helps us to, it pushes our drive to carry out activities.
This Act of 2019 is one piece of legislation that is not only progressive, but it's a piece of legislation that has placed Nigeria on the map of progressive regimes in relation to corrections in Africa. I want to repeat my sentence again. I said the Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019 is one piece of legislation that has placed Nigeria, not just the correctional service, that has placed Nigeria on that map of progressive countries in relation to the implementation or the processing or the management within the sector of corrections across the continent of Africa. I know how many countries. Before I move on, I will tell you a little story to help a little bit. Several years ago, I recall in the medium security custodial center, now custodial center, there were a lot of deaths. People were dying. And those deaths were almost happening every other 3 days, 5 days, a lot of deaths. So people were panicking. There was, maybe, how many people are welfare officers here? Please, can you raise up your hand? Welfare. Good. Can we clap for welfare officers? One to go? No, we are clap on the coordinator. 1, 2, go. And another one. And the third one. Let me tell you why I said you should clap for welfare officers. So there was a welfare officer who, in my idea, in my view, I still see her as image of what a welfare officer is. She's late now, and anytime I have opportunity, I call her. Because I believe that her actions there are actions that need to keep being remembered. Her name was Mrs. Bridget Opia of Blessed Memory. She spent years at the medium security prison as a welfare officer. And I recall those times when I come and I want to make attempt to get access, and sometimes I see this woman weeping, seeing these deaths. It was through her I saw that welfare officers will go to the homes of ex-inmates to know how they are doing. Welfare officers will follow inmates sometimes when they are being discharged, or follow up to know how they are settling. Welfare officers will even go when an inmate is still in custody to connect with the families, to plead with the family, to reconcile with the families. There was a lot that welfare officers would do. As a matter of fact, the inmates felt so close to welfare officers. And in those days, welfare officers were always on mufti. I know now a lot of you want to wear uniform and wear uniform. A lot of you want to go help, let's get that one. Okay. You know where I'm going. But the truth here is that this woman was an epitome of what a welfare officer was. And what was it? She cared. They could open up, they could tell her things. She cared about what they felt. That was that. So I'm telling you, the closest to the inmates in any family, or rather the inmates in the custody, are supposed to be what? Welfare officers. Now, you understand that the inmates you deal with, some of them, I'm not saying all of them are criminals, you know there are some that are innocent, you know there are some are minor offenders, but you also know there are some that are really hardened offenders. Many of them, the families have given up on them, they could not, either their families failed them or they failed their families. Many of them, the society, the educational system, have failed them. But why I wanted to mention the role of faith-based as an introduction was that as people were dying, this lady ran and we were discussing, she said she doesn't know what to do. And the weekly she called a meeting of all the faith-based organizations that were coming to the custodial center there. And she said to them, please, if you can donate soya beans. You know, then they said, you know, the protein content. So people they bring soya beans. So they do soya beans and made soya bean drinks. And we're giving people who are the sick baby and they were becoming well. But the ones who were at the inside were not getting sick. It's okay, let us make sure that everybody was given the soya beans drink. And as they did, that death rate crushed. But the faith-based were there to provide a speedy intervention. It was a powerful opportunity for the custodial center, then prisons, to see such. So I would say to you, you know that section 2, subsection 1C says that it's about reformation, it's about rehabilitation. And I ask, the easiest way to move far around this, especially in the face of non-adequate budgetary allocation, is to align with faith-based organizations and other organizations that can assist you. So, again, I have heard instances about how people can be given equipment, including through the aftercare, and they turn back and do what? They sell it. Huh? Okay. So we want to make sure that whatever we mean by rehabilitation becomes very well seated. So let me give you some few examples and then we'll discuss it, because I really want us to connect so that you can see the power in what we are about to do and the power that lies within you. So I told you section 2, subsection 1C. I'm going to read it verbatim. 2, subsection 1C says, it is to enhance the focus on corrections and promotion of reformation, rehabilitation, and reintegration of offenders. Which means that it is no longer business as usual to say you can have people come in and then it's like garbage in, garbage out. So what are those programs that can really mean in real times?
We have quite a number of activities that we spelled out. We have what we call the counseling. Now the counseling is at the point we know the need of the inmates, we begin to counsel them spiritually or based on morality, and reason why they need to embrace the program. Now, as we also have literacy and numeracy competition, it's very important. We notice that when there is a competition, health competition within individual, that helps us to push our drive to carry out activities.
This is correction. In real time, this is reformation. In real time, this is rehabilitation. In real time, this is reintegration. So, we need to look at it and see how what we are going to learn this today and tomorrow can give you some tools that can be applied towards this. Okay? I also want us to go to another section, section 10. If you have your listing, go to section, okay, let me read it again. Section 10 of the Act. And when you look at section 10 of the Act, and you start from the 10F, for example, even if I start from 10E, you know, even if I start from 10D, it says 10D says identifying the existence and causes. Okay, it says 10 says the functions of the corrective custodial service are D, identifying the existence and causes of antisocial behavior of inmates. E, conducting risk and needs assessment aimed at developing appropriate correctional treatment methods for reformation, rehabilitation, and reintegration. F, implementing reformation and rehabilitation programs to enhance the reintegration of inmates back into the society. G, initiating the behavioral modification in inmates through the provision of medical, psychological, spiritual, and counseling services for all offenders, or he doesn't even mind, including those who are there for violent extremist charges. H, empowering inmates. This now talks about empowering them through other kinds of skills and go on. Now, from this section 10, which is basically the functions of the custodial service, it tells you the different things. So, in other words, every inmate becomes a case. Every inmate becomes not just number, but it's more to number. And you know there is no two persons on the earth, including no two inmates that are the same. But it means that you have to pay particular attention to understanding who this inmate is, to understanding the journey the inmate has made, to understanding the parts of the inmate, to understanding the stage in the life of this inmate, and to begin to engage with this inmate. Someday you will live here. You can tell them. But how you live is what is important. You can also make a great use of your time here. Even as you look at the station where they have the admission board. From that, you are part of the admission board. So from the admission board, you are listening, thinking, looking at this image and trying to map out who and who can be of use. Who and who should I begin to engage with them? Who and who is actually open for me to begin to engage with? So there must be creative activities. They say, an idle person is a devil's, I didn't want to say an idle man. Okay, an idle man and an idle woman is a devil's what? Workshop. So this tools that you're going to learn gives you an additional opportunity to know what and what you can pick on to do the needful. You know, one thing I'm very happy about, I'm told that in most all of your custodial facilities, they have started this program. So I'm really going to be listening to understand what you think about this program. How? Because you are the ones that are in these facilities. You wear the shoe, you know where it pinches. But you know what? You can be there and behave as I don't care. I know in the face of challenges, it's easy to say, I don't care. But I have also realized that your work is a very divine job. You know why I said that? Should I tell you what? Remember I said to you, many of the people you deal with, or maybe I should say most of them, are people who have been abandoned, people who have been dejected, people who have no relationship with any, proper relationship with their families and all that. So you are like their mother, their fathers. You are like the hope that they didn't have. So what you make do with that time? Remember outside, somebody may tell them, come, I want to, and they say, I don't have time. And they tell you, I don't have time. Hello? Can you call them and say, I don't have time? They have plenty time. Yes. So what do you do with that time? So I just want to let you know that if there be any sector within the Nigerian Correctional Service that can help actualize the spirit of this issue of the 3 hours, it's you. I'm not saying it's not only you, but you are very key. So every inmate you must take as an inmate that needs to be focused on. I'll show you one secret that I want to, because I also would like us to open up our mind and discuss this, and I'm willing to receive your questions because I have a PowerPoint, but I want to see if I can connect with you at your level, coming from the journey where you're coming from. And any kind of question you need, I promise you, I will answer. And this is a sector that maybe I will tell you, I have spent close to 27 years in this sector, so I can tell you. So it's not that you don't have your problems, you do. But I'm trying to tell you, through this, open up your heart to see how you can be of service to that one that is before you. Now look at section 14. Listen for section 14, and I just want to give this example, and then I will open up for us to discuss a little bit more. Now, section 14 of the Act says a lot. If you look at it, says here, the Correctional Service shall provide opportunities for education, for training, vocational training, as well as training in modern farming technique and animal husbandry for inmates. Now, subsection 5 says the Controller General may recommend to the board for the issuance of certificates of good behavior upon discharge to the inmate who has demonstrated good conduct, including those who have acquired training through formal and informal education aimed at facilitating their reintegration. A person, that's subsection 6, a person who is issued with a certificate of good behavior shall not be discriminated against on grounds of his custodial sentence. The certificate shall be issued by the board upon the recommendation of the Controller General. And it goes on and on and on. Certificate of good behavior. It's talking about how do you know that someone who has come in has changed for better. Do you know that even inmates who were innocent, while they are in custody, including when they are in custody of the police, plus when they are in custody in your facility, can be broadened to say, when I get out, what I will do? You know, it can even be worse. But what is it that you can do that can enable an inmate to reflect and say, I take responsibility? A lot of the inmates, if you engage them, they will tell you, see, I got my problem, I got my uncle. He be no like me. He don't train me. You see, my mom don't know where. Then I can't go ask people for help. Then they don't show me this road. You know, that I do not want to become a robber. Now because I don't go to school, nobody care for me, my papa don't help me, my mama don't help me, uncle don't help me, they don't give me job, I look for job, I don't come there, so I can't do it can never be about that. But when you start utilizing some of the things you're going to learn here, these 2 days, you begin to understand it. Yes, but you know, there are so many people out there that have the same issues. Including the person you killed, the person you stole. He's not the person that gives job. That same person may be looking for job the same way you are. To get them to understand, rather than externalizing the cause, but to internalize their role. Because it is only when you can take responsibility, then you can ask, okay, this was what I did that was wrong. Now, this is the pathway I need to go so that my tomorrow will be better. Do you understand my trajectory here? So if I'm told speak just one person, one person who can help make a difference. I will say to you, every correctional officer will have a place to make a difference. The other day we were doing training for welfare officers, and we realized that really the issue is that there are a lot of people who are playing so much role in the welfare work that are not welfare. Even in a management of visitation, because even there is important, it's not welfare as much as it used to be. But whatever it is, there's a need to integrate some of this things. But for you that is welfare, is it possible to look at ways of doing a little bit more? Okay? You understand what I'm saying? So, faith-based organizations provide for correctional service opportunity to have access to help. Because the mandate of the correctional service kind of aligns with what most faith-based organizations will hold on to. Be your brother's keeper, be your sister's keeper. Several years back, I recall there was a project we were doing called Prison Link. What that link meant is that you as a welfare officer, look around and see those who can assist you to meet the needs that you have. But first, you know the needs. So what this means also is that rather than make life uncomfortable for people, unless they settle you, reduce the risk. But all of this is about engagement. It's about finding where they are coming from. It's about taking them to have responsibility. It's about enabling them to understand that they need to enable those who they are not to have a closure. It's about letting them understand that the power is in their hands to make amends, to change for better. And that you are there, working with them to make the difference. You can also make reference to the Holy Book, where there are many who have gone astray, but yet those people turned around and they were great people who would call this day. So you had a lot of tools in your hands. So tell me, is there anything about Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019 you will need me to deepen your understanding on? Is there anything about that? And I will let you know. If you look at part 2 of the Nigerian Correctional Service Act, which starts from section 35, 37, you'll see that it's all talking about non-custodial. So under that part, it tells you the first it talks about community service. What is community service? It is the easiest and the simplest part of non-custodial measure that you give for those who are low risk to the society. Many of us saw it during the COVID. And what you are just saying, instead of giving the person in custody, giving them food and taking care of them, that will make the person to go back in the community and work for the service of the community on the state without a payment. It helps those people while they're there so that they don't break the chains, like they don't go in. While they're there, they can still go to do their work, they will have a home, they will maintain their family needs, and the issue of reducing their chances of offending again will be very high. Now, beyond the issue of the community service, you also have probation. And what is probation? Probation means that the person is said to be in the community, but there are conditions attached to that set. Condition, for example, if it was found that you committed this offense because you have problem managing your anger, you may be asked to go on an anger management course as part of the requisite for the condition. Or you may find that you don't have any job skill.
We have quite a number of activities that we spelled out. We have what we call the counseling. Now the counseling is at the point we know the need of the inmates, we begin to counsel them spiritually or based on morality, and the reason why they need to embrace the program. Now, as literacy and numeracy competition. It's very important. We noticed that when there is a competition, health competition within individual, that helps us to, it pushes our drive to carry out activities.
They're usually long-term offenders, but we want to give them that as an incentive to be able to make themselves better. And of course, we have the restorative justice. Restorative justice is a very holistic process, and you will see that in the way it is framed within the act. And some people will see it, restorative justice can be an alternative. Means you can be asked, okay, you go and reconcile with the victim, and there are different types of restorative justice models. You know, from victim offender mediation, family group conference, so many things, including the ones engaging the community. But I want us to see restorative justice not only as an alternative, but as something that adds value to the justice that we dispense, irrespective of what the sanction is. Every offense that has a victim, our proposal or our push is that those offenses, doesn't matter what sentence is given, doesn't matter at what stage, whether it's at the police stage or whatever place, you need to make sure that the victim is also the same. Oftentimes we ignore the victim. We don't care about the victim. Nobody knows how these victims are suffering. Even to update them about the process of the court, we don't do it enough. So once you take the offender or suspect or defendant and you're dealing with it, does not mean that those people who have been hurt, even if the person who said is innocent, somebody has been hurt by that offense, and those people needed care. Again, many a time the victim just wants somebody to have a closure, want to know why was I the one that was attacked. It's only the offender that can give it. Okay? And of course, every other one, as you can see in that section 37 of say any other non-custodial measures that the court may deem fair. So you have a piece of legislation that is really good. It's good to help. It's good to help us achieve the 3 R's. But now let's come back to you. How do you see? And of course, faith-based oppositions are relevant across board in whatever stage you're doing. Anytime you're dealing with a human being, because it is changing the behavior, the attitude of that human being in a sustainable way that can make a difference. The same thing, even if you talk about corruption, you need the same. The same that I say, even for an officer, the same thing. So let me pause and ask, does anybody have a question? Any question about the Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019? Any question about the role of faith-based organization in implementation of corrections? Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. You can take it from microphone. Can you? Okay. Go ahead.
Is there another microphone?
Okay, go ahead.
Morning, sir. My name is Father. I want to know
from which correctional service?
From training college. So I want to know if there is any place in the Correctional Act that says that this institution-based program, which is the education and the vocation that we are talking about, should be voluntary and not compulsory. Because the fact that this thing is voluntary, many of the inmates are not partaking in the system at all. They don't go to the school. They don't want to do maybe tailoring or anything. And at the end, they will go back to the society, not being prepared for the society. Then also, how to know, because I learned that outside the country, they have this equipment to test those that are on drugs, so that when you test them, you know that, okay, these people is totally off drug, or there's still some traces of drugs. But in Nigerian Correctional Service, we don't have an equipment for that. And that is why when you release some people into the society, because we don't know if they are still on drugs, because I won't lie, in the yard sometimes they get access to all these Indian and all these things. So when we release them and there's no equipment to test them if they are actually on this drug, and they go to the society to look for, maybe they need this Indian, they need cocaine, they have to go and look for any rough way to get money and get the drug. So how can we tackle this problem?
Okay. Your first question is it possible that there is a provision that talks about compulsory participation in wars? The answer is no. However, you know, we can plan a schedule, your schedule. So for example, you can say from this time to this time, it's the time for workshops or whatever. Then they can now choose the one they decide to do. But if they tell, because the real thing, their punishment is actually limiting them for their movement. That's the main problem. So imprisonment is the punishment. However, what happens is two things. It is the power of your persuasion, the power of you showing the benefits, and secondly, the incentives. People have a way of doing things that have incentive. Anything that has incentive has a way to encourage. And you can ask me, what is that incentive? When they know, for example, that by participating in this work can give them a certificate that can help being shown, can help maybe the consideration of parole and parole hearings, or in the issue of issuance or consideration of whether to issue certificates of good behavior, for example. Okay? Now, there's also another time I had always thought, you remember if you're in secondary school, or primary school, or nursery school, you see parent-teachers association. Meaning, you are understanding that there is a role of the parents in the bringing up of the child. Meanwhile, we're talking about children that have not committed any crime. So why is it that we do not borrow from the same concept? In short, we try to do a little, something about this, the small one and the maximum. I was saying, do you know that the fact that when they come for visit, those who are participating in workshops, you can use opportunity as a welfare, update their parents. Oh, do you know your son is da and your son has not finished the Symbiotic program and done, and the parents when they are meeting them say, thank you, I heard your Jesus. Do you understand? That way that they see that as that they are being, encouraged, they are being celebrated for taking good out. So you must think of creative ways to encourage, creative ways to celebrate those who have done well, creative ways to build incentive around this. Again, it is not something that you can force anyone to. Even if they are outside, just the same way, you see an adult, you can't force an adult to go to school. That's how I don't do. But you have to encourage them to do so. Connected to that same question, the other second question, which is about drugs. Even if you test it and it shows that the person is okay, and the person goes out and is back again. Yes, I know that testing makes it easier that they cannot lie to you openly. So it is also part of something that should be encouraged to put in. But I think that as much as possible, we should control the inflow of drugs into facilities, and it's a big problem. We need to check them. And secondly, have proper full program in terms of dealing with drugs. It's a big area of need. It is also a big problem in the society. As far as you know, there's a very strong connection between drugs and criminality. Okay? So that's what I would say. And the Act also provides that broadness that you could actually.
We have quite a number of activities that we spelled out. We have what we call the counseling. Now the counseling is at the point we know the need of the inmates. We begin to counsel them spiritually or based on morality and the reason why they need to embrace the program. Now as we also have literacy and numeracy competition. It's very important. We notice that when there is a competition, health competition within individuals, that helps us to, it pushes our drive to carry out activities.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That's it. So we have 3 more. So our SCG in charge of Zone A. 3-1. So email productivity and training, non-custodial and everything. And thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes,
Morning. I want to use this forum to ask questions and to ask from the Nigeria Prison Fellowship for opportunity. Because in my correctional center we have the educational, that is Ilaro, Ogun State. We have the education sector, we have the vocational sector, but when it comes that we have encouraged them to be in the class, we have the elementary class, students to go to the Ministry of Education for help. But I want to seek the indulgence of this forum that the Nigeria Prison Fellowship should please come to our rescue, because for our NECO payments, because we are in the local environment, we have been going out, people will give us the little that they have, but financial backup, if we have like 20 or 25 students, hardly will we be able to get the money for 10.
Let me give you a tip.
Yes.
Do you have faith-based organizations coming to you? There are many of them.
Yes.
So what you do is, because if ahead of time, you can note these ones and make something and ask them, say, if it's possible for you to address their congregation.
Okay.
So that you see whether you can establish a sustainable support. I know that there are some states that this is happening. Some correctional facilities that faith-based organizations, including PFN, is also helping to pay. I recall even my own organization, we paid some, but you know, because this is something that is continuous, you need to see how you can map out and have a sustainable program, because it's happening all over the country, all over the facility. So if you can map out those who are providing the service, and I'm also thinking maybe also at some point maybe you can find a way to find a way that sometimes you can also discuss with Benson. But the key is that if you check how many which churches are those, I don't know, you map out which churches. Then if they are not enough, look at it. There are apart from churches and there are others, faith-based organizations coming, Islamic ones and all that. And then tell, I see, is there a way they can adopt some of these children, like, or have a scheme that they can every year give so amount, and you can see how that can be sustainable. Thank you. So I think that would be the last, yeah? So very more, please, that would be the last because my chance. Yes.
Morning. I'm from
I didn't hear you from which one?
From Ikoyi Custodial Center.
Volume.
Ikoyi Custodial Center. So I just want to buttress some points in view of the education for the inmates in the custodial sector.
Yeah.
That one cannot force them.
One cannot
force them to be educated.
Yes.
So you can force a horse to the river, but you can't force it to the river.
Yes.
So what we can only do is to encourage them.
Yes.
We bring them together,
yes.
We talk to them, we counsel them, we advise them, then one can even go as far to their cells to talk to them about education. Like I usually, like I was doing, I would go to their cells. Then I would tell them that I've come to preach to them the gospel according to saint education. So, and before you know it, the following day, you see them grasping to the data. So we can encourage them. And we can also tell them the benefits of being educated. Like some of them, they start for GC that time, and it was that.
And they were able to certification. Yes. And actually, I think even at the beginning, at the, when you are doing the admission board, that level, you can also begin to let them know, in this facility, we have this, that. Some, I will encourage you, don't come and say you won't do anything. There are some people who spend this small part of it, they will be wasted. But even if you don't know where you are going, I encourage you, find them that you can connect with. In Zambia, one of the schemes we did was that we used inmates. Inmates that are in the training school, educational program, as paid educators, and they were also, during the time they blocked them, they were doing training inside the cell. So there are lots of creative things that you can do. I'm still here, we can still interact, but I need to end down. You're very correct, I just accepted all that so that the next person can speak. So.
all know me already. And, the only major introduction I have to do here is that, like I have been introduced as the chief host, I'm now the chief host of you. I'm hosting you. So you are in self-hands.
Yes, sir.
We know why we are here. They were with me in the office last time, and we discussed at length. I told them that there's no how we can do our work without working in concert with faith-based organizations. They are the bedrock of our assignments in our service. You understand what I mean? Not only that they bring up the spiritual side of them, they also contribute materially. They help us in doing so much in the system. I'm afraid if we don't have them, I don't know the extent we would have gone. But luckily God has brought them. I know the Lord that has been doing for us. I remember a time in one of the prisons I headed. There was this particular inmate who came to the prison. And normally when I have an inmate with special needs or whatever, I used to bring them close to interact with them and know their problems. So this particular individual, they were operating in the crates, causing a lot of trouble, doing a lot of harm, and all that. So when I invited a very small boy of less than 25 years, so in the course of our interaction, I was asking him, what was he actually doing in the crates? He now told me that they are into militancy. And now told him, so you are the people who are attacking people and slaughtering people? I said, yes. I said, can you tell me the number of people you have slaughtered?
We have quite a number of activities that we spelled out. We have what we call the counseling. Now the counseling is at the point we know the need of the inmates, we begin to counsel them spiritually or based on morality and the reason why they need to embrace the program. Now as we also have literacy and numeracy competition. It's very important. We notice that when there is a competition, health competition within individuals, that helps us to, it pushes our drive to carry out activities.
He said he can't count them again. Are you getting what I'm saying? He said he can't remember the number, that there are too many, that he can't count them again. I was shocked. So at a stage in the course of our interaction from time to time, he revealed to me that he has been hearing people saying that Christ has arrested them. He didn't know what it meant. That he has come to know that it is Christ that arrested him and brought him into this prison. Are you following what I'm saying? Are you following what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So he said it is Christ that arrested him and brought him into this prison. That he never knew anything about God before coming to prison as he then was. He said he didn't know anything about God. Only thing he knew that there was a church in their community. He used to pass through that place and see people going on Sunday and come out. He never had the chance of entering that church. That as he came into the prison was when pastors, reverend fathers, and the rest started talking to him about God. Then he felt so bad of what he had done in the past. He started crying and repeatedly. What I'm saying is, if he had not come to prison, he wouldn't have known the implications of what he was doing in the creek. So you see the extent to which they give us support. So they give us spiritual support, they give us material support, and this particular organization, do you know what they're doing? Do you know why you are here? Do you know why you are here? Yes. Can somebody tell me?
For more knowledge and understanding of it.
More knowledge about what? On what?
On the reformation, rehabilitation, filtration of it.
Thank you. It has to do with our job, the essence of our job, our mandate. They are here to support us and give us more knowledge, like you said. You understand me? And last time they were within the office, we were talking. And this scientific approach, from which we have realized that through their effort elsewhere, and they're bringing it to Nigeria, in Africa, they have been doing it. They have scientifically proved that they have reduced the rate at which people come to prison and go back. What do we call them in our language? Coming and going. That's right. So they have aided in a lot of ways to reduce recidivism. Okay? So invariably, they are the people, whenever they are talking, you listen to them. Whatever they write, hit it very well. Because by the time you are done with that, you have gained so much. Thank you. As a matter of fact, you can see that we came a bit late. We are sorry for that. And we wouldn't have come at all because we have an assignment which Abuja gave us, me and the controller. So we said it would be unfair for you people to be here in our domain and wouldn't show face. These schools that we have an assignment with the Controller General. So we'll be here briefly and leave. Thank you so very much.
We have quite a number of activities that we spelled out. We have what we call the counseling. Now the counseling is at the point we know the need of the inmates, we begin to counsel them spiritually or based on morality and the reason why they need to embrace the program. Now as we also have literacy and numeracy competition. It's very important. We notice that when there is a competition, health competition within individuals, that helps us to push our drive to carry out activities.